I was going to say, in the meantime, I just wanted to correct the agenda. The resolution that we made was not 2021, it was 2020.
Oh, okay.
So,
I'll fix that.
if you just fix that, okay?
Sure.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Betsy.
Okay, I will call the meeting to order at 4:34 then. Other than the changes that Jan has suggested in terms of the date of the resolution, do we have any other changes or reordering? Okay, we'll leave it as is. Then I do have a very short chair report, but meaningful. So Jan, as you retire, I want to thank you for your years of service to Wes. Your knowledge of and dedication to this school has been nothing short of remarkable. You led this committee with only one desire: to ensure that Wes became the best it could be. As you step away, rest assured that this committee will seek to build on the foundation that you helped build. And so I want to thank you, as still feeling like a newbie to the committee. Your guidance and your leadership taught me a lot. And so on behalf of myself, I'm only speaking for the chair right now. I just wanted to say thank you and happy retirement.
And I can't thank you enough for your kind words, Betsy, but I would like to say that at about noon today, I was totally blown away, overwhelmed, and I've been floating ever since with the reception of the most beautiful basket from you lovely, lovely school committee members. It is just so over the top. It's a beautiful thing with the most gorgeous. I wish I had the skill. I don't have a laptop that I can bring around to show you what it looks like. And it weighs a ton. It's two beautiful plants. The pink azalea is gorgeous. And then it's this magnificent arrangement with roses and carnations and actually every kind of flower in it, all pink and white, really just spectacular. It just, I mean, a little bouquet would have been a lovely gesture, but this was just an amazing gift. And I thank you all very much for it. I will enjoy it, I'm sure, for weeks and maybe even months with the plants. So thank you very much. It's been lovely. And I hope that our association will not totally fade away, even though obviously the immediacy of it with everybody will be gone. But I hope that if anything ever comes up that I can be of use to the school committee, I will be happy to come forward. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And at this time, I'd like to open up for member speak. I'm seeing Jill raise her hand.
As a school committee member who served the longest with Jan, I also want to say thank you, Jan, for, oh my God. Oh, thank you for your years of, oh boy, dedicated service. I'm glad I wrote stuff down because I'm, but thank you so much for your years of dedicated service, Jan. And one of my wonderful memories of the service that you've done is as a chair, when you would talk at town meeting, you were always so poised and confident and so beautifully communicative, absolutely impeccable. So I've always been in awe of your stance at town meeting. And as far as your wonderful strengths and skills, your attention to detail is just awesome, whether it's picking up something in the minutes or, institutional history, remembering various things that it's just been so admirable. Also, of course, your grammar and your wonderful oral and written skills, that's been a real asset to the committee, and wording. We might have to get back to you for some editing, since you offered.
Anytime.
And no doubt about it, Jan, in all my years of serving on the Wellfleet School Committee and other boards, the collaborative, paying attention to other school committees, you are by far the best dressed and the most fantastic accessorized school committee person ever. Oh, even with mask, going to the conferences, you win.
Thank you, Jill.
You're welcome.
Wow. Okay, enough. Let's get down to business.
Are there any other members who would like to speak at this time?
Hmm.
I think just for the sake of moving on with the meeting, because I have another one at 7, I just echo everything that's been said. And Jan, I hope you read the note on the card that I wrote. It was
Thank you.
heartfelt.
Yeah, thank you.
Ditto.
Thank
All
you.
right, then.
Laura. That was very, very kind of you, Laura. Yeah.
I'd like to move us then to citizen speak. Okay. And then we will come to then priority business, and we'll start with Mary Beth.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. And Jan, I echo it as well. You warmly welcomed me into the West family almost 12 years ago. I cannot believe it. So thank you for all of your service on behalf of kids. And I have a couple of additions to my report. And currently I have 2 out of the 4 students that are remote learners that will be participating in MCAS. So we did send out an invitation to those remote parents. If their child or children would like to participate, that we could make arrangements to do so. So I have 2 out of the 4, they happen to be twins. And so they will be coming after hours into a room that has an entrance and exit door, and then it will be cleaned and sanitized before and after the use of that space. And then the other thing I wanted to share is that we have confirmed 18 incoming kindergarten students.
Mm,
So it's a great size. We
mm.
have 2 sets of twins in that class. And we had our first ever remote parent orientation last Thursday. We had about 11 families that attended. And I asked people to, at the end of it, typically I would give a sheet to everyone, sort of a survey for feedback. What did you like? What didn't you like? What would you like us to do differently next time? And a couple of parents, they were encouraged to call or email to give us that feedback, because we can always improve practice. And we got some lovely phone calls saying that they wouldn't change a thing. It was comprehensive. We had, and Laura was part of it too, as a parent of twins. And they thought it was comprehensive. They loved that the rec department was there to represent what they have to offer for our kids. We talked about the school really becoming a hub for the community, and that has been our goal for some time. So it was just a lovely evening. It was supposed to be an hour, and it went about an hour and 20 minutes. So I was very, very pleased with our first remote parent orientation. Let's see, we welcomed Jill Fierro back to the school. She was our kindergarten remote teacher, and all of her class sort of dissolved because kids went back. So she came back to the school yesterday, and she is again back in kindergarten as the educational assistant. And in my May report, I'm going to give you more information about 2 of the new teacher hires that we made. So we hired for grade 3. We are anticipating now about 25 grade 3 students. So we will have 2 classes. And I hired a young woman from Harwich Elementary School, and her name is Shannon Ragg. It's W-R-A-G-G. And for our grade 5 teacher, I hired Kristen Connolly, and she is a Wellfleet resident. So I'll give you more information in my May report about those two folks. So we're very excited. Both had met with Mr. Gawley for the second interview, and he gave them high praises and a thumbs up to move forward with the hiring process. And we welcomed a new student yesterday into grade 2. So in the enrollment for in-person, we're now up to 22 students in Miss Shoemaker's class. So it makes it a total for that grade level, 23 students. And a total of in-person students now is 96.
Okay, do we have questions or anything from Mary Beth on her report? Hearing none. So now we're in tricky territory because it's Tom's report and he's not here yet.
He's having technical difficulties. He's trying to get in, but he said
Okay.
just please carry on and he'll keep trying. So.
Okay, so the next thing would be update on negotiations, but I'm wondering more if you were wanting to partner with Tom on that conversation?
No, I can give my report. I just was
Excellent.
hoping Tom could jump in occasionally with some maybe details that I don't have, but I can go
Well, we
ahead.
could have Giovanna give her expenditure report, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, do that.
All right, so I'm backing up to agenda changes in order on our, and so we are going to actually make an agenda change. We are going to move item D up to A1 or something.
Excuse me, Betsy. We've lost Jan.
We have lost Jan. Oh,
She took an early retirement.
yeah, right. Let
I
me check.
wonder if is there a waiting, there isn't a waiting room.
I'll just see if she emailed.
There is a waiting room and I'm monitoring it to make sure that everybody's in.
Thank you.
Arlen,
I hear Martha's dog barking.
I'm sorry, Betsy.
have you received any communication from Jan? I have not.
I have not. Well, let me check my email. Hold on. No, nothing.
Okay.
Betsy, I don't need to wait for Tom. So whenever you want me to, I don't have the agenda in front of me, so I don't know.
Okay. Would you like to give your negotiation report then?
Sure.
Okay. Why don't you go ahead?
Okay. Yeah, the contract has not been ratified yet by the union, and it's been a very long process. We've gone the entire year working. It has not been a problem, but the union leadership of the teachers has to go and work through. When we reach agreement, then they have to go to the other unions, and that's been a very slow process for them. And I think there have been some disagreements within them that has delayed the process. Well, I just want to tell you, it's been very successful. Tell you who is on the committee. Gail Breer has been our chair, did a great job. I'll make sure I remember. John O'Reilly, Maria Nocti, Chris Elsasser, the high school principal. He was fabulous in this. And Judy Leck, I don't know, do you know who she is?
Yeah,
What
she's in
school,
college.
what city is it?
Is she- Brewster.
Brewster, okay. And then there's another member, and I just having trouble remembering her name. When you ever get to Tom, he will give you the name.
Tom is here. Welcome, Tom.
Hi, sorry, it had some problems here, so. So I've been listening to Mort. It's been great to have Mort on the committee. He did an outstanding job and he has a lot of history in terms of where we've been and looks at it from a great viewpoint. So I heard his comments and he set you up nicely in terms of understanding the challenges that we have. And eventually what will happen, if Mort didn't mention it, we'll
I
have a
didn't get
joint,
to it yet.
about the joint school committee, Mort,
What's that?
about the joint school committee meeting.
No, I don't know about that.
So what will happen at the very end, once we get all of our agreements in principle, we'll have a joint school committee meeting to bring everybody together to vote these contracts.
Well, Tom, there are some points I'd like to make about the.
Yeah, go ahead, Mort. Sure. Yep.
The there were the negotiations were very friendly. There was no us versus them approach, and any disagreements we had, we just talked about it. Sometimes we went out into breakout room to discuss disagreements between us, and the two big sticking points where we didn't yield at all was the number and times of the professional development days. And the other one was we wanted to make sure that parents who want a teacher conference, they have the choice, the option to do it either in person or remotely. And there was some disagreement on that, and we just dug in our heels, and that's what's going to be. The parent has the option. The other thing was, let's make sure I get this. Oh, Tom, can I go into numbers on the COLA, or is that not to be talked in an open meeting?
You can mention the first two. How's that sound?
What?
The first two COLAs.
Okay, I will do that. I just wanted the preface for that is the disagreement is based on towns are not sure how the COVID-19 is going to affect town budgets. Some people think that, 3 years from now, people may be laid off, they'll be hurting. On the other hand, house sales are up 26%. Businesses are expecting one of their biggest years. So that kind of conversation had an effect on what we were going to propose and what they wanted in terms of the COLA. So what we agreed on is two contracts, a 4-year contract, one for this year that we're living in and the next 3. So we resisted that at first and ended up agreeing with it. And we thought the union was justified in worrying about that. So here's what we ended up with. Year 1, the year we're in now, a 2.5% COLA increase. And then we had a 3-year contract based on that. And the year 1 of the 3-year contract is 2.25% COLA. And well, I'll stop there. I have other numbers, but that's it. Tom, am I leaving out anything?
No, that's an excellent report. And I think Mort's absolutely right that for the most part, it was a partnership in terms of trying to find a fair deal for both sides in terms of not only the financial end of it, but also what we believe will enhance our program going forward. And we're just waiting really for the ed assistants to wrap up, and then we'll be able to move forward.
Thank you, Mort. Are there any questions for Mort? Okay, thank you, Mort.
Okay.
Great report, Mort. Great report.
Visit us more often.
What?
Visit us more often. It's fun when you're here.
Nice to see all of you.
Yeah, great. Thank you, Mort.
Okay, I'm getting off. Enjoy the rest of your
Okay.
meeting.
We will.
Okay.
Thank you, Mort.
Why here?
So I'm going to circle back and see, Tom, would you like to give your superintendent's report?
Well, it's a brief one in nature. And as you can imagine, I can't speak without talking about the building project. And at this point, we just completed a TV show this morning, late morning, and I would encourage, we'll push it out through Parent Square, but it's going to give you an idea of what to anticipate from today over the next couple of years in terms of the plans, in terms of the project. And particularly interesting to understand about the portable classrooms that we're bringing in, where we're bringing them from, and so forth. And we'll be building up as many as 32 units, and surprising to me, those units will all have air conditioning, and the kids will love that for sure. And it also talks about which buildings will be torn down and at the pace of the construction. So I hope that that video is going to be of benefit to you and the citizens of our town. So the other piece, of course, is I'm now working on a number of contracts for a variety of positions that the superintendent is responsible for. I would tell you it is a tremendously challenging effort to have to do 42 contracts of individual nature. And but we're making our way through to make sure that they're all up to date and ready to go forward for these employees into next year or beyond. So that's taking place. And I would finish by saying that I had a quick conversation with Gio. I've had conversations with Keith on the potential monies that we have for the ability to help students who have fallen behind in a summer program. And I'm very, very encouraged that we'll be able to have a robust program for these students. And I'm particularly interested now to be focused on our ELL program in terms of what I believe to be the highest risk students in the district. So I think with having the funds from the federal government to do this and earmarked for this purpose, we should be able to make a big difference. So thank you.
Any questions for Tom? Martha?
Thank you, Betsy. Tom, this is actually just, I don't know if I mentioned it last month, but during our search for the interim superintendent, several of our finalists, we had 5 originally and then got down to 3, and at least 2 of the 5 mentioned that they had learned an awful lot from mostly from you in terms of how beautifully you communicated and how you built trust around the building project. And many of them, they both mentioned that before the vote. And they, I just wanted to say that, kudos to you. They are now thinking of taking your ideas back to their own school systems because they're also in phases behind us in the building process, and that kind of reaching out to the community and being completely transparent and letting people know what's going on was a learning point for them. So,
Well, thank you very much for sharing that, Martha.
it made us very proud.
No, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. It means a lot.
And I'm noticing Jan's back. Jan, do you need to check in on anything, or were you able to hear, or?
No, the computer just completely died and said there were technical problems and it shut down and I had to start all over again. So I'm really sorry. I'm embarrassed. I had wanted to ask Mary Beth an important question, I thought, because when I looked at her report, it seemed there were so few children doing remote. And I wondered how long they were going to be offered that opportunity into the next school year.
Mary Beth, can you respond?
Sure. The Department of Elementary and Secondary Education is not allowing them to be an option next school year. It's just parents could maintain the remote learning model this school year, but not for next year.
Okay, so
I'm hoping that for next school year, we will start the year with about 108 students.
Sounds wonderful. That's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and Laura, I saw your hand was up.
Yeah, I was just kind of going back to the summer school thing. I guess my question is more broad, but how are our remote students doing? Whether from elementary all the way up? I mean, how are they doing?
Well, I'll take a broad answer to that. Remember, we went into remote learning a year ago, a little over a year ago, and I must be honest. Last year we worked hard at it. We got better, but we had a lot to learn from that process. I have heard from, and I'm not exaggerating, at least 50 to 90 parents around the remote issue of what a difference this year has been relative to the skill set and the teaching of our teachers that were doing remote learning. And so that was very, very uplifting to hear. And obviously, I think the system will more than likely over the summer do some analysis of what we did remotely and what has value going forward and what doesn't. And for instance, we have a few students who are hospitalized in different hospitals and so forth, and being able to remote into those rooms if the hospital allows it would be really a blessing for that child and for the families. And I can tell you that I would encourage at least having the discussion at the board levels. Do we want to continue with snow days, or do we want to have remote learning days? And it goes on and on from that standpoint. And remember, for the most part, the remote learning program had people crossing town lines in terms of trying to balance the loads of students doing different classes. So I think that, and I see Keith on this meeting. You know, Keith did a fantastic job last year in terms of the robust professional development that we offered our teachers. We offered it and had expectations of a number of people improving their skill sets, and that proved to be very, very valuable for us going forward. So that's my thoughts. And Keith and Mary Beth, if you'd like to add to that, feel free.
I think that for some students, it was a real match and continues to be, and that's why those families have decided to continue with it, as opposed to it being a real health concern need. The piece that I think is challenging is really on the teacher. I think that is the challenging part. Keeping kids engaged remotely can be a challenge, especially the younger they are. Keeping kids from, turning off their video can be a challenge as well. But I agree wholeheartedly with what Tom is saying. The difference between last spring and this school year was remarkably different, and parents have commented on that. And, everything that I saw in terms of what children's progress report, because I read all the progress reports prior to going out, and it was impressive. It was impressive that they were keeping up with their peers. Students who have come back, of course, it's just the second week. I haven't heard any concerns with teachers that they're terribly behind or whatever. And I think the other thing that gets lost for these kiddos being remote is the social, you can't replicate being in the classroom, and building those relationships. So if we have to do it, or if parents need to do it, it's nice to know we have it as an option and that it has been effective.
Thanks.
Great. Any more discussion on Tom's report? Okay, then I will be looking for a motion to go into a public hearing and to discuss participation in school choice.
So moved. Jill.
You got a second from Jan. Thank you. And so I think I'll let Tom open up.
So this is an opportunity for anybody in the public who would like to make a comment relative to the issue of school choice. in the town of Wellfleet. And it is, the purpose of this, of course, is for the board to listen to any comments that might be said at this time. I must tell you that that we haven't had a lot of people participating in this, but this is their opportunity to do that as you move forward. So is there anybody out there that we have that wants to speak to this subject?
Okay, seeing none, then I pull us out of it, correct?
Exactly. Yep.
So I'll take a motion to end the public hearing.
So move.
Second, Jill.
Great, all in favor? You didn't vote the first time, sorry.
Okay.
Thanks. Okay, we're gonna move on to Giovanna's expenditure report.
Thank you. Let's go directly to page 11 of the report, please.
I would call that extraordinary. That's my last time I'm going to comment on but that's the most amazing mid-April balance that I've seen in my 21 years. So how lovely.
The budget is tracking very nicely, Jan.
Yes.
So so the prior month balance, we had a balance of $94,627. We were able to put back into the budget $24,910, leaving a balance of $119,537. We were able to put funds back into the budget because we had money encumbered for transportation to the collaborative. The student is not attending the collaborative, so we had some savings there. In reviewing the purchase orders, we noticed that and the latest invoice that we received from the collaborative that we need to adjust the PO. So that was part of the savings. We also have money that is earmarked to use the school choice fund of $20,000 within the budget, but it looks like we won't need to reclassify any expenses to school choice, so we'll end up carrying that money forward again next year. And we also have available to us this substitute funds totaling $24,597 that have not been spent. So we're hopeful that we'll be able to return some of those funds back into the budget, barring any unforeseen happenings between now and the end of the school year. So I'm going to highlight the items that had more than $1,000 movement since last month's reporting, starting on page 1. At the top of the page, line item 4003, salary central office. We spent or encumbered $1,236 since last month's reporting, and that's per the central office budget. Moving on to page 7. As I said earlier, line item 4035, the special education out of district transportation. We unencumbered funds totaling $37,928, and that is due to the child that's being homeschooled now. So we didn't require the transportation cost to the collaborative. And moving on to page 9, at the top of the page, 4060, we spent or encumbered $4,000 for fuel since last month's reporting. So we looked at what was spent year to date, and we adjusted the encumbrance, and I think that there was another oil delivery. So that leaves an encumbered balance of $2,354, and the total savings in the fuel oil line is $23,000. On the same page at the bottom, line item 4056, contracted services equipment. We spent or encumbered $2,903 since last month's reporting. And that's the expenditure report for this month. Any questions?
Okay, seeing none. Thank you, Giovanna.
You're welcome.
So the next on our agenda is an item called communication. This came out of a discussion about publicly having our emails public and just wanting to sort of have a larger conversation about our engagement with the public in terms of communication. and just making sure that we all sort of understand those parameters. We had a very lengthy conversation last time that hit a lot of areas, so I tried to capture them under E and F in our agenda. And so Jan, I believe I can sort of reach out to you to start us off on this. Is that true? I saw you raise your hand.
No, it was Jill.
I'm sorry, Jill. I'm sorry.
Yes, thank you. I've given a lot of thought to this, and I also did some research. I feel it's very important for us to discuss this, certainly before, if we do decide to go ahead and display our emails. I'm not necessarily opposed, but I have some really big concerns. So we do have very defined roles and responsibilities. There is a chain of command in the parent handbook for proper administrative channels for solutions before there's any kind of investigation or action. I feel that there are, clear channels for negotiating difficulties and differences. If we go this way, I feel like we definitely need to develop our own guidance in this endeavor. So examples would be, for instance, well, before I get to that, I did contact Glenn Kuchar of Mask and asked his opinion about it. And I'm going to read what he wrote. Many school committees don't do this for various reasons. And also a lot of school committees do get a stipend. So there's a gray area as to volunteers versus people who do get some little stipend for it. But this is what Glenn said. Under the state constitution, citizens have unrestricted access to elected officials. So we do have community speak and people can write or whatever. Listen, so his suggestion was whether it's community speak or whatever, or reading something, listen or read respectfully and get back to them to acknowledge if they wish, but refer their concerns to the superintendent. So we're not the problem solvers. So if they have an issue, the proper channels, and if it's really big, to the superintendent who is authorized, and direct their concerns to the appropriate place. There is no legal confidentiality between somebody in the public and getting a hold of you. And it is public record that it can be asked to see the emails between you and the person of the public. Your communications are public and can be made public. And if we go this way, speak and write very carefully, because this can come back at you tomorrow, the next year, or maybe even 30 years from now. So here's my questions to the school committee to ponder. We're not going to be able to decide right now at this moment, but here's points that I raise for people to think about. So personally, I feel strongly that if we do put our emails out and public are getting a hold of us, that we really do need to be on a common ground, that we need commonality of responses, and how we do that is a further discussion at another time. But please think about, we need to all be kind of on the same page, and how we respond and the avenues. So, so for instance, the example of a parent. It certainly happened plenty in my family where the kids would ask mom and they didn't like my answer, so they'd ask their father, right? So there could be differences in how we respond and what we promise and whatnot.
Nothing.
Another suggestion is Glenn wrote that if we go this way, we might want to consider a public records officer. But I don't even know, Tom, do we have in the region a public records officer?
So it would be fairly close to being our HR person.
Okay, so I will continue for more things to think about. Me personally, I know in the work I do, liability is an issue. If somebody doesn't like my accreditation decision, could I get sued, right? So this is something we need to look into before we decide what to do. We need information. Are we covered by the school system if a parent wants to sue, if they don't like the way we respond or something? So that's something maybe Tom can get back to us if we're covered by the school system for liability. And I do know we have legal counsel, so maybe this is something that we can find out from legal counsel. So legal counsel, would they back us up? Would they cover us if an issue comes up? And we are volunteers, we're not employees. So it gets kind of sticky with the different legalities for individuals. Here's another thing to think of. So if we have a person from the public get a hold of us and it's not easy saying, gee, you know, have you contacted your teacher? Have you, you know, if that's not satisfactory, then the principal. If that's not satisfactory, then the superintendent. Would we want to send, this is my own thinking, would we want to send copies of our individual responses to somebody so we can be on the same page? And again, we're not going to be able to figure this all out tonight, but this is just stuff for people to think about. And I do feel we'd also need almost like a triage list of, if we can't figure out how to respond to a go-to person, maybe it would be HR, you know, if we're not clear on a good way to respond, you know, if it's not clear cut. Maybe as a school committee, we would generate at another time a list of topics that we would be comfortable as school committee people to answer to, and then what topics would be absolutely taboo that we should not, as individual people of the committee, respond to. I'm almost finished, but believe me, I've been doing a lot of thinking about this. So how to deal with what we receive. So we need to, just wrapping up, define our backup. Who do we consult with? I feel that's really important. And just like Glenn Kuchar advised me, you've got to be, we need to be so careful, so thoughtful on how we respond, what we respond to. This could be opening up Pandora's box in some ways. And there's no doubt about it, we want to be responsive to the public, but how? So we do have community speak. If somebody can't make community speak, they can send a letter. And again, in the handbooks, I looked at our handbooks for the region as well as for Wellfleet, and there are clear avenues for negotiating differences and chain of command, if you will. Those are the highlights of pondering what we might want to pursue later. Thank you.
Look, I'm seeing Martha's hand up.
Yeah, thank you, Jill. You have put a lot of work into that. I had no idea that this was coming up so soon until I saw the agenda today. But one thing that I was thinking about was, I don't think this is something that Wellfleet School Committee should decide on its own in any case. I think that and it's really important that it become a district decision. I just don't think it's a good idea for us. I am all for transparency, and that's why I brought it up. I brought it up because when I was working with that school committee group, that is not really a school committee, but there were a few of us from school committees on the Cape sitting in on some of these meetings. People wanted to get in touch with school committee members to see what seats were being left open in the coming election. And many of the Cape school committees did have the school committee's addresses listed on the school's website, but we didn't. And that's when I first started thinking about, gee, you know, are we doing what we're supposed to be doing legally in terms of, as elected officials? Are we supposed to be listed so people can reach us? But I don't think that's something that is really anything we can solve together without the rest of the district. And I don't know whether there should be a committee set up district-wide to discuss that kind of thing, or maybe the chairs of the committees could get together and talk about it. I don't know. Or the vice chairs, you know, whatever. I am happy to help in that way, but I'm not sure I'm pretty sure that's not something we should decide on our own. And Jill, thank you for all of those points. I think they're important considerations for sure. That's all.
Okay. Is there any other comment, question at this time? Okay, how about if I'll reach out to the chairs and just see what they think about it and how we can best move forward. And then maybe we can follow up with just a report at the next meeting. Does that sound amenable? Okay, I'll reach out to the chairs. And thank you, Jill, for your homework on that. Okay, so that brings us to our next agenda item, which is racial equity and connected matters. It was kind of, this was a web of notes on my last, from my last meeting. And as I reviewed them when I was talking with Tom, it came to my recollection that we had adopted a resolution that really touched on a lot of the ideas that we had brought to the surface at our last meeting. So in terms of having a policy or our hiring practices or mission statement and goals and mentoring and things like that, many of them seem to be covered in the resolution. And so what I thought it would be nice for us to review it. I mean, we kind of checked that box off and we moved right on past it, right? We haven't even thought of it since. So for good reason, it's probably circling back to us. And so I didn't know, again, I don't know that we're going to decide anything right here and now, but do we want to move forward with some sort of committee work on this or subcommittee work, or perhaps we're again thinking about it in terms of a joint venture between all the committees. So if you had a chance to review the resolutions and you wanted to speak to any piece of it, now is the time, you know, or if you have any ideas on how to move forward with specific pieces. I just thought this might center the conversation a little bit. Laura?
Yeah, I mean, I've done a little research, not a lot, like not as much as Jill. And, you know, I think a good starting point, I mean, I think the resolutions are good, but again, this might be a whole district thing, but putting out something like an equity statement, there's a lot of school districts have them, and moving forward with that, even like and forming committees, you know, because, you know, you have the resolutions, we say this, but we need to make sure it's happening. And so I guess that's kind of what we need to do. And whether, again, I guess it should be, I guess, district-wide, but we could certainly start it at the Wellfleet level. But again, I don't know, like just, you know, an equity statement is, I think, really important. I learned that from the Khalees Warnham when I sat in on her sessions. You know, you put that out and you know, offering professional developments with on things like that, I think are really important. So I think we should definitely take a step in this direction.
Can I just ask a clarifying question? When you're talking about professional development, who's
Oh.
going to obtain the?
Sorry,
Is it for
I mean,
us?
I was
or
thinking teachers.
what is your?
Well, I mean, I was thinking teachers, but the Khalees Warnham developments that I sat in on were wonderful. And she does it both for school committees and teacher ones. And I don't know how much say we have in teacher professional development. You know, I don't know. So I think I mean, us and teachers would be great.
Okay, because we wouldn't have any say over what Mary Beth or the district provides, but we certainly could ask Mary Beth for an update. I mean, I think we've heard in the past that they have provided, but we could ask questions like, what's been the impact? What have you noticed? What are new issues that are being considered? I mean, we can certainly ask Mary Beth for information. Keith?
Thanks, Betsy. If it's helpful to the committee, just wanted the committee to know. So Mary Beth actually passed along information from your last school committee meeting to me, and we've been in touch with Dr. Warnham. We're waiting for the interim superintendent to come on board, but we are poised to offer professional development that starts with the administrative team, that then extends out to teachers. And the question came up, and the possibility of training or offering workshops for school committee members is on the plate as well. We just didn't want to finalize anything until we had the interim superintendent in place, since it's all after July 1st. But we are taking steps in that direction, and we're basically 90% there, just waiting for final approval and final details.
Thank you. Martha, I saw your hand.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear that, Keith. Thank you. I wanted to say that I think it should be a district thing, but I think it's something we could certainly continue talking about at the school level. I wondered if I had a question. Does the district, Betsy, you're a policy person, so you would know, and you're younger, so you would remember, do we have a district policy in place? I know that we have a resolution for the school, but does the district have a policy? The region, not the region.
I love the way you think I would know everything in that. That's so delightful, and I appreciate that. Maybe that's why I got my new job, but I would have to consult Arlene. I'm guessing we have something, but it could be something that needs to be revamped. I can't imagine that there's nothing about racial equity in, somewhere buried, but maybe we need to do a little bit more. And so I certainly can contact Arlene tomorrow, in a policy email, and just ask for some information about that to keep moving forward on that. Did you have anything else, Martha?
I do. I just looking last night at the faces of all of the school committee members and our color. I mean, it struck me is I don't think there is a single person of color on the school committee. And I don't know how many people of color there are on the staff at Nauset, for example. And I think that that's something the district that we really need to work on for sure. There are a lot of things. I mean, putting meeting notes out, even using Google Translate if we have to, but putting them out in other languages for families that are not finding English that accessible at this point, things that are important to think about. And there's a whole world of things out there that I'm sure I know I haven't thought of, and it would be good to continue. I think especially when our new school committee member comes on board, because she's quite knowledgeable in that.
So I agree. I'm leaning towards some sort of subcommittee. I think this is worthy work. I think, some of the things I'm interested in now in my new position are what is the makeup of the student body? And then our administration, our teachers should mirror those percentages, right? We should make every effort to mirror the percentages in terms of being equitable. I should be able to see someone who looks like me, you know, and just, I mean, not that those numbers are the end all be all, but they're definitely a starting point. And so we're starting to do that work. And I think that I can't imagine we wouldn't have several interested members across the joint to begin to do some of that work even around our own body, right? I'm seeing Tom's hand up. Go, Tom.
So I think that depending upon the energy that you want to bring to this, I think it could get as big as the entire Cape working together. All our school districts pulling our resources together. I did participate in a process like that a number of years ago, from a hiring and policy changes that were made. And I think that if we're truly serious about this, when given the opportunity to talk to colleagues from other school districts on the school committees and otherwise, other ministries and so forth, I think we might want to look much bigger than just our own system.
Any other thoughts or comments while we're on this item? Laura?
Yeah, this might go to future agenda, but it's something I've been thinking about along the lines. Has there ever been talk of a language program at Wellfleet, trying to get another language? That kind of mixes in with all of this to me, but so I would, yeah, go ahead.
Betsy, may I?
Yes, please do.
Yes, we have talked about that. And one of the things, well, a couple of things, one being that it's not a requirement, a content requirement of DESE. And we are already so jam-packed with the content that we do have to cover. Another concern was what would the percentage look like? And would we be able to find somebody, if they don't live on the Cape, to come to the Cape for a small percentage? 3, research has shown that if it's not immersive for early childhood and in elementary, and where it doesn't, if it doesn't carry over into middle and high school, then it ends up being time lost. So what we did as a school council is we really built into the new school improvement plan, being able to integrate language in music, in art, in our PBL, to be linking the etymology of words to other languages, the cognates, the words that are very similar, especially between English and Spanish. So doing more of a deep dive into language and connecting it to other languages. Primarily it would probably be Spanish. So those were the reasons why we sort of haven't done it. We did offer it as an after-school program, and it was poorly attended. So, you know, we're trying to address the want around the structure that we have and the responsibilities that we have in terms of subject content knowledge. It's a great question, though.
Okay, so anybody else? I'm going to attempt to go ahead, Martha.
I'm sorry, just quickly. A couple of years ago, one of the things we were thinking about, Tom had this wonderful vision of thinking about the elementary schools as kind of magnet schools. And I believe that one of the thoughts would be that one of the schools would be an immersive language, would have an immersive, I'm really tired, an immersive language program as what its theme would be, what it would be for a magnet program. And, you know, things sort of, then we got COVID and we sort of got stalled, but maybe we can think about something like that for sure, because Betsy, you're right about, I used to be a language teacher, and you're right about it has to be immersive. I know, I guess it was Mary Beth
It was,
who was
yeah.
talking about that. And that's it.
Okay, so I'm just going to kind of bring us back to racial equity, which is a little bit different than like English as the second language, because we're really just talking about the racial piece. So just to summarize, we have interest in creating or putting out an equity statement. So I think that is something that's worth continued discussion. We would continue to love updates about the professional development plans that are happening. And it's just great to hear that they include us, you know, that's because it's great. And we want to look into, you know, perhaps what the existing policy is, and maybe there's work for an already existing policy committee to dig into. And then this idea of some kind of work, be it all CAPE, be it start with the joint and reach out. Right now, I feel like there's a lot going on with just the people are very, I think, extended right now in what they do, but certainly conversations are worth starting and just kind of keep that going. And so any final comments, Mary Beth? I saw your hand up.
I just wanted to share something that I took away from, I did a series called Anti-Racism Terms and Perspectives back in the fall. And one of the things that I jotted down, I just thought it was so impactful, and you're talking about a statement. So I just want to share it. And I don't know if this is something that could be a jumping off point. But the statement was, and again, this is relative to education. If racial oppression never existed, race would not be a predictor of life or academic outcomes. The focus must be on equitable outcomes. I just thought that was so powerful. And so, you know, again, where you're talking about a statement, I just thought I'd share that.
And I mean, if this committee has the will, if somebody wants to branch off and work with Mary Beth over a Zoom or an afternoon or an hour and sort of chop something out that you bring back to us, we certainly can adopt our own right now just to make a step forward on this. Just let me know the will of this committee and the interest in doing that. I don't think I have the time right now. I'm a little bit out of my league. So yes, Keith.
Just one other piece. So principals have actually already submitted to me a list of both community members and staff members to help form an equity and social justice task force. So we had taken steps in that direction, probably January, that when the director of curriculum position was being created, just decided, let's put it on hold so we don't move too far in one direction if someone's coming on board that, you know, wants to go in a slightly different direction. So all the pieces are there. It's really just kind of waiting for a July 1st turnaround to make sure we're going in the direction together.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And I think even just for this committee, I can, I don't want to speak for all of us, but I'll speak for myself, saying just knowing that all that work is there waiting. It's just been, there have been a lot of, you know, other things to pull our attention away from it, especially with just the COVID protocols and safety and all that. But it's really, I think, heartening to know that it's waiting in the wings, that you guys have started some really good work. And I'm not sure if any committee you have going might want a stakeholder from this committee or something like that. So, all right, unless is there anybody else who wants to make a final comment before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, if there, I'd love to be a part of any of it. So keep me in mind.
We'll add your name to the list, Lara.
Thank you.
Great. And thank you for sharing that statement.
Ava on it too.
She's the one who's
There you go.
in my ear.
Okay, I am going to move us to reports and information, and we'll start with Jill at Cape Collaborative.
There's a meeting tomorrow. You guys are up to date because since we had to defer when we had our meeting the last time, I reported on 2 meetings plus the legislative breakfast. So you're up to date. I'll fill you in for tomorrow's meeting, the next meeting.
Thanks, Jill. Okay, we'll move on to preschool enrollment. Any comments on the report or questions? Okay, there is no PTA liaison report as far as I know. Is that correct, Mary Beth? Thank you. And Behavioral Health Task Force, that would be Martha.
Yes, as far as I know, we're not meeting until May. And again, I have no idea why, but we're not. That's all I'll say about that.
Okay. Moving us on to school council.
Oh, that's me again, but I am embarrassed to say, well, I'm not embarrassed. I'm chagrined to say that I had a search committee meeting which started at 10:30 last Monday morning, a little over a week ago. And then school council was to start at 2:15. And I realized at 2:45 that I was missing the school council meeting. We were still in the search committee meeting, longest ever Zoom meeting I've ever been in. So Mary Beth can maybe catch us up and catch me up on what I missed.
We were just plugging along with the 5 goals of the new school improvement plan. So we finalized the 4th goal. And so we're working on community schools for our, I think it's a May 25th meeting. No, I'm sorry, we finished the 5th goal, which was community schools. And so at our May meeting, we're going to just edit, wordsmith all the work that we did for the new school improvement plan so I can present it on June 8th.
June 8th, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mary Beth.
Seems like forever ago. Took me a minute to remember.
That brings us to Housing Task Force Committee. Is that you, Jan?
Yeah, nothing new, unfortunately, that there's been a glitch with attorneys and who wants what kind of language. And so it's being a little bit postponed, and we're getting anxious because there's a window of opportunity that you put your proposal out there, and if we miss that, it'll be another whole year. So it's just a little bit anxious right now.
Thank you. Do you think you might come visit us with one of those reports every once in a while if you have something?
Sure, love to.
Okay, great. I'll try to reach out to you then.
Okay.
And future agenda items. Oh, I'm sorry, Jill, I stopped looking.
This might be a joint, well, it would be a joint school committee thing. But I was wondering, since it came up so much in the media and different other meetings and whatnot, wondering whether it's time to raise tuition for Provincetown and Truro, the tuition that they pay, since there's been such a brouhaha about the costs and so on. So that's one thing I'm wondering about. The other thing is I'm wondering, when was the last time that the tuition was raised for Truro and Provincetown? So it is an agenda item. But Tom, you had your hands up.
So I just wanted to at least let you know that we're in a 5-year agreement, and we're in the 2nd year of that agreement. And so negotiations is two-sided. If if we had all the power, we would have loved to had them come in under a tuition agreement and things like that. But we did agree at the table to begin having conversations around the issue of them joining the Nauset region. And so we actually got more money this year, excuse me, in this negotiation than ever before. But I hear what you're saying, Jill. It is somewhat of a controversial subject. And quite honestly, I think one of the things that the district is going to have to stay very really focused on is the declining enrollment of students Cape-wide. And remember, I had talked a couple of years ago when we were working with with Paul Hilton and the demographic expert that he had predicted that indeed we would see 2% a year across the Cape in terms of students leaving. And it's real close to that since that prediction was made. And ultimately, the Cape is going to have to come to grip that 20 years from now, I'm telling you, there won't be all these schools. And that's not to be just, not to be figured out today, but it's got to be on the table.
Okay, so what I think I'm hearing is that there's already this tuition agreement and it's fixed for 3 more years. Is that what I think I heard?
That's right, Jill. Yeah.
Okay, so there's no point in putting this on the future agenda. There is just one clarification too. Maybe Rebecca can help out on this. The town election has been postponed till June, correct? I think, I was off Cape for most of last week, so I'm still trying to catch up. Is it true that the election has been postponed to June?
Yes, the town meeting is June 5th, and then the
Okay.
town election falls 2 weeks after that, or the week after that, which is June 14th.
Okay, so this is kind of future agenda. So is this really Jan's last month?
Uh-oh, Jan, you have to come back.
Right, we got one more
That
month.
means you get more flowers.
More flowers and more compliments. Thank you. It's all right. Ditto. Just say ditto. Oh, I didn't realize that. So May is still on the old regime, huh?
I think June would be too, actually, because the election is after the second Tuesday of the month, I believe.
Well, I'm
Well,
not,
whatever, 1 month at a time.
yeah, we'll take it 1 month at a time. Okay. So then it'll end up being 21 years and 2 months. Oh dear.
He definitely gets another plant.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. Any other future agenda items? Okay, and just to be clear for all board members, sometimes something comes to you later. There's no reason why you can't send me an email suggesting something, and then I talk it over with Tom and I'll let you know. I know that's happened here and there, so please feel free to send an email if something occurs to you. So now let's talk about the minutes.
I move we accept the minutes.
Second.
Okay, all in favor, put your hand in the window. Got it, Arlene?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Bills have been paid.
Great.
I'll take a motion for adjournment.
Could I ask first, as it's an imposition, but what did Mort tell you? I missed that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So
Yes, I meant to go back there.
I was frustrated about missing his comments.
Yes.
How are we doing?
We're doing well, I believe. Let me just find my notes on it. What page did I write that on? The contract has not been ratified yet, but agreements are in place, and I believe it has to do with the other connected agreements with other unions.
Oh, okay.
Hold up. So contract negotiations have gone very smoothly. There
It's verbal agreement. Yeah.
Yeah. So It hasn't been ratified yet, so they'll ratify once they work out. The way Mort made it sound is that there was sort of like between union and union, not union and administration. So the things that had to be worked out.
Okay, thank you.
Did you
Thank you.
want a couple of the details that he gave us? He gave us some numbers. Did you-
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I just wondered the overall feeling. So I move we adjourn.
Okay,
I second.
great. All in favor, put your hand in. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And Martha, thank you so much for all your work, for bringing forth 3 amazing candidates last night.
Oh, thank you all for your support. It was a wonderful, it was really a great experience. The search committee is a
I'm
good,
glad.
good group of people. Very
Good. And it was nice to have Keith here. Thank you, Keith, for coming. And Tom, we're going to soak you up for a couple more meetings, I
Oh,
guess.
yeah, I got a couple more months. You can't get rid of me yet.
All right. And Mary Beth, thank you for everything you do. You're amazing. We love you.
Love you right back. Thank you for all your support and hard work. Thank you.
All right. And
Bye-bye.
I'll say thank you
Have
to
a great night
Giovanna.
now.
Always a pleasure when the financial papers look like that. You help us understand why it's there. All right, everybody, take care.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.